Hey, this is Janine Bolin, and I am very lucky today because I have Trevor with me. And the reason I'm so excited is I love talking about money, and you guys know that. I write about money. We do meditations on money. I've written courses on money, and I always enjoy being able to bring other members of a community together. And I happened to stumble into Trevor due to a friend of a friend. It was one of those sorts of things where she's like, Janine, you need to talk to this guy. He's on a mission. So Trevor, thank you for being with us today.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me, Janine. I'm
Yeah.
really excited to be here and to add as much value. I've been going through your content, your courses, and reading your new book, and it's absolutely amazing and totally resonates with me. And I'm just really excited to be here to help support you and your community. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Well, tell me about this. I always get the number wrong. Tell me your mission again. You have it on LinkedIn, but I forgot it and I messed it up last time, and I want to do it right this time. Tell me again your mission.
Yeah, well, so I've got a lot of missions. It's very interesting. I'm beating a lot of drums these days, and one of them, I'm a male advocate for women's financial empowerment, and the financial arena is built up of 95% men. That's the workforce, and it doesn't really have a lot of room or space or even culture or a platform to help women be successful. It's a very male-driven masculine energy arena. And my goal is to help 50,000 women get into the finance industry through mentorship and leadership. And instead of approaching, hey, go get your licenses and do this studying for the next 2-3 months, and then say that you're an expert and go get them, tiger. It's a program and a mentorship program where you get mentored for the next 2 or 3 years, or if it takes you 12 months to get to where you need to be, great. But it's an ongoing mentorship, leadership, collaborative community where in the top 10 earners in our company, 8 of them are women. And so we run these women's financial empowerment meetup groups all across the country. We help you just get all the tools and resources that you need in order to be very successful. And I look at 50,000 and I'm thinking now that that's actually a pretty small goal, because that wouldn't even tip the scale anything,
Right.
95%.
But that's a great way to get started. So before we get too deep into the program that you have, I wanted to have a conversation with you real quick, because this is where Trevor excels. Okay, he and I were talking before we got online here, and one of the things that we were discussing at our little coffee shop meeting was the fact that we wanted to help people get to a place where they were out of debt. They were banking some serious bucks for their retirement, for health. There's all these issues. And we also were focused on women, but we understand that women are married sometimes. Yeah, sometimes they've got partners, right? And so we want to bring them up to speed so that they can bring value not only to their partners, but they can also bring value to their communities. And so as soon as I got excited, because as soon as Trevor started talking to me about the communities that he was building through this program, that's when I was like, okay, we have got to get you on my show. And so thank you for being here. So we're going to go through, I've got my list. So we're going to go through this list. And one of the things we were talking about is, the sexy way of money. The sexy way of money is, what is the quickest way I can gather wealth? What's the fastest way? So let's have some fun with that, because you and I get hit with that question all the time.
Yeah, and what's interesting, people may or may not like this answer, but it's their reality. And with this ditching debt approach, individuals have a really great opportunity actually to leverage their debt habits and turn them into wealth accumulation habits. Because if you've read anything about habits, our habits are what controls everything in our life. We are a slave to our habits, and you never can get rid of a habit. You can only replace it with something more powerful and something that you desire. If you don't like smoking, you replace it with eating healthy and you create that habit. I know that's a bad example, but there's millions of them out there. And really, if you have this habit and mindset of getting in debt, you can, if you're spending, or you're paying down on your debt $1,000 a month or $500 a month, we put all this effort and activity and initiative and drive and focus to getting out of debt. And then what I see with so many individuals out there is they go, yay, yay, they throw a party, we're out of debt, and then very quickly they get back into debt because they haven't switched that habit to wealth creation. They were so used to putting that $500 or that $1,000 or that $2,000 towards debt. And when they are able to get out of debt, their mind goes, wait a second, our point of attraction was getting out of debt. We're really good at getting out of debt. Gosh, we better go find us some debt. So they'll do some sort of activity or do some purchases or things like that. So leveraging the debt habits that you have is the quickest way to wealth. And I know it sounds weird and crazy, but you got to think about it. The average individual who starts saving for retirement is 53 years old. They didn't save when their kids were growing up because it was so expensive. They were putting them through college. They were buying a house. They were getting into the careers, and all of a sudden their kids are out of college or in college, and they're sitting there going, wait a second, we haven't figured out about our lives yet. We have all this debt. What are we going to do? And they start looking at ways where they can do a snowball principle or an accelerated pay down principle and really laser focused and have all of their extra income or side hustle money going into their debt. And they pound it out and it's done, and they have it done. And then they literally go, well, what's next? Gosh, I wish we could save money. Where are we going to get money to save? Where are we going to get it? And it's like, well, wait a second. Weren't you just putting $1,000 towards your debt, and now you don't have any money? And then the question kind of goes, well, what would you do with the money? Well, seriously, like sometimes I want to shake people like, what did you do with the money? You were just putting it into debt. What are you doing now? And we absorbed it into our lifestyle. So watch out for that landmine. Just because you find money in your debt does not technically mean it's yours. It's your future's. It's your future self. It's for your retirement. It's the perfect place to go, because if you're a little bit into debt or a lot of debt, there is a balance of, well, do we get all the way out of debt and then start saving? Gosh, is that going to take like 22 years for me to get out of debt? I guess maybe we should like start saving a little bit before so we can
work on something.
Yeah, and time value of money. But really, the fastest way to wealth is to switch your debt mindset into a wealth mindset. And saving money does not create wealth. It's the habit. It's the habit of saving money. That's what creates wealth.
So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but one of the things that I wanted to jump in on was, one of the things I love is that with the Ditching Debt and Banking Bucks program that I run, is people get that habit. All right, they start that habit. And the reason I brought Trevor on was because of one story. This story kind of broke me. I actually jumped out of business for a while. I had a different name for my business and everything, but I had a group of 50 families that I was moving through this ditching in their debt, saving money, working them through. And I worked with these people for over 5 years. And I got these groups, some of them were like over $100,000 in debt, and we got them out of that credit card fiasco and got them into a healthier place. And then they had money in a savings account. And before, it was the phone call before I could talk to them about how to establish a Roth IRA and how to go about starting their Roth IRA. And this is around 1998, by the way. And as I was getting ready to do that for them and talk with them, they decided, 5 of the families got together in the community and they invested in a gold mine. And within 2 months, lost all their investment. And that broke me. And so I have brought Trevor into this program because what I want is, I don't want you to do that. I want you to invest in your own future and take that habitual saving that you've been working on to move it forward. So that brings us to the second question that was on my little list that I wanted to talk to you about. Tell me about, you and I are starting to hear this now, as our clients are moving into their 40s and 50s, the question comes up, I don't want to outlive my money, right? I don't want to be age 82 and having to work at Target as a cashier, which, by the way, the reason that's in my head is I met this lady, 82 years old, and she has outlived her money. And so a lot of people are like, hey, don't want that to happen. So let's hear what you have to say on that one, Trevor.
That is one of the biggest epidemics that we have in our country, is the lack of financial direction that people have. It really comes down to financial education, which is why, Janine, I love what you're doing.
Thanks.
And another mission I have is to get financial education into every single school system across the country, because it will set everyone free from in their passions, their spirituality, their mindset, everything. It definitely empowers people, because generally we go to school, we get a good job, hopefully we get that career, or at least on that path to a career, and they say, hey, if you stick money in this qualified retirement plan, 401k or whatever it might be, then we'll give you some money with it. And you think, yay, that's awesome, I'll just do that. You have a guy or gal come in once a year, give you some information. If it doesn't fly over your head, that will be a good thing. But we just keep chugging along. We were always told if we got a good education, we got a good job, we'll be okay. And the fact of the matter is, we're not. The average retirement plan, think 401k, 403b, 457, the average plan runs out 7 years after retirement. So just imagine you're 65 years old, you go into your early 70s, and your retirement account hits zero.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big deal. You'll see a lot, unfortunately, of changing landscapes and direction from many things because of how many baby boomers we have going into that situation. So, and it's when we look back into previous generations, everybody had pensions. They had this guaranteed money that was going to be coming out of somewhere, and they knew that money was going to be coming to them every month. And while we do have Social Security as of now, a lot of people are counting on it if they're in their late 50s, but I'm talking to people who are in their mid 50s who aren't really counting on it anymore. People in their 40s are not counting on it. People in their 30s are like, what's Social Security?
Right. It depends on the generation as to which one, how they've been raised. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So outliving your money. So those are areas that Trevor will be glad to talk to you a little bit about it. It's not a topic to be scared of. There are so many tools, tricks of the trade, things that you can do. Don't, Trevor and I were talking about this. Don't let this scare you. Don't let it scare you into a place where you don't talk about it. You go head forward on this, go straight forward on it, and be direct and ask people about it. And you'll start to hear all these solutions that people like Trevor have been thinking about. You know, they got the information 10, 15 years ago. They started seeing these trends and they have things in place. You talk to a financial planner, they have things in place where you can start actively addressing these concerns. So that brings us to the third one, which is, how do you handle risk management? How do I protect, if I'm going to work so hard to make this nest egg, I'm a mother goose. Yeah. How do I protect it?
Well, there's a lot of different ways. Education is definitely the first thing. If you don't know what you're doing, you might not want to do it. And if you're getting advice about a gold mine, you want to make sure that person is an expert miner.
Yes.
If they're in retail, you don't talk to somebody about a gold mine. And there's a lot of things that not only help create those private pension style retirements where it's paying ongoing to help mitigate risk for the longevity of your life. There's also things to help protect against in the event that there's a medical situation. Living benefits is something that's come out in the last few years where people don't realize that you can actually dive into your death benefit of your life insurance in case there is a medical situation, have hundreds of thousands of dollars. There's things like index accounts that when the market goes up, imagine getting that gain, and if the market goes down, you staying exactly right where you were. Now, a lot of people go, wait a second, why didn't my broker tell me about those things? And it really comes down to the system of how people make money. Index accounts, because they're not managed, they're not actively traded and things like that, there's not a lot of money to be made. So 93%, just to give you an example, people have no idea that index accounts exist. 95% of people have no idea that living benefits exist. And those are just two really simple examples of so many risk mitigation tools that you might have missed in those 401k overviews, because chances are if you're not a multimillionaire, you're not going to get that personal service from a seniored individual who can give you that information and education for you to make an educated decision.
Right.
The
Right.
industry itself, you got to think about this. Nobody got education in high school or middle school or college or anything like that. And if you got it from Janine, you're lucky. And if you got it from your parents who are millionaires, you were even luckier. Hopefully you implemented that.
Right.
So most of us are highly educated in all these other areas of our life, but money, the most important adulting aspect, I mean, besides breathing and kids and being married, I mean, it's right there. It's
Right.
there. And yet we don't have any information or education. So we're just kind of following the crowd. And it just, when you wake up and realize that it's not really working. And so to get that education and understand that if you're going to make an educated decision, you've got to have education. And if you're sitting down with somebody who is telling you what to do, you might want to ask why and to explain all the nuts and bolts of everything in grade school talk, like first grade speak. And if they can't, and they're just trying to put you in a position so that you do whatever they want. The industry is built to tell people what to do, not to teach them. And that's what I really, really love, and why I've collaborated with Janine. And I'm really excited to help the community, is because we do this, we're education based. I mean, I actually try to talk people out of doing stuff and give them so much information. They're like, gosh, I really, really understand this. And that, you know what? I want to go that way. And I'm like, oh, I'm so glad that you're making these decisions. And
Exactly.
you're doing it, and you're empowered to make it. And I get to sit back and, like, I'm sure you do, of having that position of just gratitude that you've enabled people to take 100% just empowerment for the direction that they go, so they're not a slave to their future. And when you're coming from a place of empowerment, you see the landmines, you see the roadblocks, you see all of that. And you're like, wait a second. And I was just sitting down with a couple last night who they didn't even know that they lost about 40% of their portfolio after a few months. And they didn't even know where they were, didn't even know anything about their accounts. And in talking to them, they said, you know what? The person just talked and talked and talked, and it all sounded good. But really, we had no idea what we're doing. We just did what everybody else did. But now we actually understand where we are, where we want to be, and how we can transition that gap to, we can create that plan. And that's really what it's about. It's not about advising somebody to do something. It's educating and collaborating and co-creating that journey with a seasoned professional to help you get where you want. You don't want a travel agent. You want a tour guide who can.
Right. Exactly. So I want to back you up just a little bit on something, and that is ask questions. I've hired 4 different financial advisors over my lifespan, and I have fired the first 2, and I found the third one, was very excited about it. And the 4th one I've hired on occasion, just because I find myself in a place where I had a couple extra, $1,000 here or there that I wanted him to invest, because I was like kicking the tires and test driving his models that he was using. And that's something also that I recommend. Constantly ask questions. It is in their best interest. And I've had good financial planners that say, I love people who ask questions, because then I know they're engaged. They're not just relying on me. And believe it or not, Trevor is the same way. He will be glad to walk you through your questions. So I want to wrap it up for right now, because we're going to go ahead and have links below so that people know how to get a hold of you and all that good stuff. Thank you for your time today. Wonderful having you, and good luck with gathering that 50,000 strong community. Okay.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Janine. Appreciate it.
Bye, Trevor.
Talk soon.